Well, there's not a lot I can do at the minute because I've got the builders in and the whole house is turned upside down, so I can't even get in my garden very well. But I thought rather than do nothing and just not talk to you at all, I thought I would show you what my garden looks like when it's just left. Now remember, normally if you leave a garden alone, it turns to weed, but my garden turns to food. Let's go and have a look at it. So the start of the garden on the street here, ignore the few wildflowers down the bottom. We'll start off with this beautiful, enormous lilac tree. And then a few sunflowers. They're about 9 feet tall in old money. And that comes in to rogue potatoes. And then we're getting into pumpkin land. You can see the pumpkins coming in there. Do you remember we just planted these the other week? We planted them actually in the compost bin. You see that? So they're all coming in there now. That's all the pumpkins. Now, whereas you get weeds, I get rogue potatoes coming up everywhere, and I leave them. At the end of the season, I pull them. The bin that you saw me build, with the beans going up into the tree. I don't know if you can see that really with that shadow, but there are beans growing right up into the tree itself. And that was the idea, just for a bit of fun, you know. And outside here, we've got the kales, the beans, cosmos flowers growing in there. Oh, look down there. Hadn't seen that. Can you make them out? That appears to me to be a couple more pumpkins. Can you see them there? So they're growing quite well, and they're in there with kale and flowers. And out here we've got those experimental black peas. So you can see everything is literally hanging over the fence. Now above that's a beautiful rowan tree, so if I want I can harvest them and turn them into a super high vitamin C jam rowan jelly. Underneath here was to be calabrese and a little bit of kale, but the caterpillars got in and then the weather got in and it decimated it all. So as we'll carry on along the beds, more flowers. You see the greenhouse in the back there, full of peppers, cucumbers. Oh yeah, that's Bill and Ben up there towering above the greenhouse. Now we're coming to the wild area here. I say wild because what I do is when the poppies are finished, I leave them till they dry out, and then I harvest all the seeds. That's a dry one, see, nice and you can hear that, crunchy. Then it's filled inside with seeds. And you make them out. And then what I do with those is, oh, I just dropped them. So a lot of them will continue to grow. Some I'll harvest and put on my bread making. So this part of the garden here is the potatoes, and we're ready to start harvesting now. Can you see there's a couple on the surface there? But the rest of them are well buried, so we'll harvest them later and let you have a look. There you go. So that's what my garden looks like when it's neglected. It actually produces more food than when it's looked after. Go on, have a go neglecting your garden. Now if you do what I've done, and like you forget your seeds and they grow too big, when they grow leggy, well all I do now is I just clip them off as if it was cress and I put them into my salads as microgreens. So all of this lot here, the radish and everything, that becomes microgreens, nothing wasted. Remember the experiment in neglecting the tomatoes? Well, so far I've had around about 10 pounds of tomatoes harvested from here, and I have to tell you that the tastiest of all are these sun gold. when you put them in your mouth, it's like an explosion of flavour. Oh my goodness, they're absolutely superb. Highly recommend them for the future. So when folks said, cut your suckers out, you'll not get any tomatoes. £10 so far, probably another £10 coming. So they're all over the place, they're everywhere. Giant ones. Cucumbers, again about £9 of cucumbers we've had off this one plant so far. And now we've got the flowers coming on the peppers, and better still, we've got the peppers coming on the peppers. So again, we just left them, let them grow. They're doing really well. On a couple of experiments, I stripped back the leaves, and this little patch here is stripped back, and that lot we've allowed to just grow by itself. Oh yes, another sunflower in there. You got Bill and Ben outside there, and Scrawny in here. But you can see everything is doing extremely well. This is just one of those basil plants that I split off a couple of weeks back. Do you remember we got 28, I think it was, from one basil plant from Tesco? Doing quite well. So again, this is all a bit raggy because, as I said, the builders are in. Sorry, I'm just getting eaten alive by white-tailed bees that want to come and give me a cuddle. The builders are in, and we're converting the garage into a workroom. And future-proofing it for when my old knees don't work anymore. We're putting a loo in there as well. So you remember these? These were the Scrawny sunflowers. Yeah, that's them right up there. That's the Scrawnies, and all the pots that I just stuck stuff into to put on top of a bit of Formicil, because that was all weed and grass around there. All doing extremely well. All doing extremely well. And I had the biggest thrill ever this morning. Let's have another look. In the little dish that I put the water in for the bees was the most amazing little frog. Oh my goodness, is he there? I think I might be making a fool of myself here. No, I think I'm just making a fool of myself. Let's have a look and see. That is actually him. I think that might actually be my weenie frog. Can you see him? Tiny little brown frog tucked away there. That is the first frog I've seen in this garden, and he's only a metre away from a tiny weeny little plate full of water that we put in for the bees. So everything seems to be coming on really well. And as for harvesting, well, it's going to be quite a good year, I think. Apples are doing quite well. The crop of pallets that I planted, they're doing really well. I mean, they've sent runners out all over the place. So, talk about runners. There's the beans. And you see where they're growing? They're actually growing up the shed. Now on the fruit harvesting, I've taken 4 pounds of black currants, about a half a pound of white currant, half a red, and I think about 2 pounds of gooseberries so far. There's nothing on the apples yet because they're too young to harvest, but I've got more gooseberries left to pick. I've got more raspberries. In fact, look, these are the new canes. There are 2 raspberries to harvest. It's not exactly a big crop, like I said, but hang on, let's see what they're like. Oh, that's very tasty though, very sweet. Courgettes, I haven't bothered counting them because they're cropping up all over the place. I've literally just picked them as they go. You can see how it's all doing extremely well. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Well, I hope you enjoyed that quick walk around the garden. There's a lot more to see, but there's people working all over the place with drills and hammers and bangs. I've got a hole in the front of the garden big enough to put a swimming pool in, and where I used to have a nice, well, not nice, tidy, reasonably tidy back garden. Now it's just storage for everything. Get back to you soon. Bye-bye. I mean, look at the size of that.